Good morning everyone, it's Sonia with another video for you. This time we'll be talking about some Vedic astrology, and I want to say up front that I am not the person to learn Vedic astrology from. Those of you who spend quite a bit of time on YouTube like I do, let me just give you some names. We are going to talk about Vedic astrology today, but I want to send you to some people who are pretty masterful of this subject. The first is Kapil Raj, and these are not in any order of check this one out first, second, third. These are just the people that I go to when I'm looking for answers. These are the people that I've learned primarily from. Kapil Raj, KRS channel is a good one. Ernst Wilhelm, Simon Chikowski, Laura Barat, Joni Patri, and Vic Takara, and I've also bought a lot of their books, so highly recommended all of them. Check them out. Today I wanted to talk about a Sun-Saturn conjunction because this is something I have in my chart, and what I hear from a lot of astrologers is how this is kind of a really horrible conjunction, and being the seeker that I am, I'm trying to find the positive in it, and I can't say that it's turned into some sort of joyous conclusion in my life by any means. It's a very difficult conjunction, yes, but I kind of want to just show you how it's played out in my life, and maybe this will help some of you who have this conjunction as well. So we'll get started, and I realize with the video on that this is kind of hard to see, so I may erase the board and start over with my chart. And I'm just going to show you this one aspect of my chart, and I am going to go into the Navamsha, which is a higher divisional chart, and I apologize, this is a bit of a more advanced explanation of the Sun-Saturn conjunction. So if this doesn't make any sense to you, I highly recommend going to these people and learning a little bit before you come back to this. But for those of you who have some understanding, maybe it'll help you out. So let's just make this a little bigger so that you can see, because I also want to show you in the Navamsha where these planets move. So to begin with, in my Rashi, or birth chart, I have the Sun-Saturn conjunction in the 10th house. And then in my Navamsha, so this was the birth chart, and this will be my D9. So in the D9 chart, Sun moves to the 12th house and Saturn moves into my 2nd house. So what does all this mean for me? Well, they say anywhere you have a Sun-Saturn conjunction primarily, and what it means for me is that there's a duty to that house. Sun representing the father, the ego, soul's purpose. This is kind of what you're here to experience wherever the sun sits. And with Saturn there, Saturn gives us boundaries. It gives us problems, delays, restrictions. So with the two of those together, it is kind of a kick in the ass, pardon my French, but what it meant for me was growing up, I did have kind of head-to-head battles with my dad, to be quite honest. I didn't like to be told what to do. Simon's very correct there. I don't like to be told what to do. And it was just expected that I'm gonna go to college, I'm gonna get my degree, and I'm gonna make something of myself, and not particularly in any sort of trade aspect, this was, you know, higher level. So I did spend 25 years in real estate, which a lot of times, you know, Sun being in this house, looking at the fourth house of home and property, that's, you know, sometimes a career that pops up. But it was never my passion. It was my father's passion. And so it was more of this duty to follow in my father's footsteps. And so that's what I did. And when I started college, I actually wanted a degree in psychology and art. And I was told, well, that's never going to make any money, so you got to do something that's going to make money. So I ate 25 years in real estate. So what happened in this Navamsha, my D9 chart, when Sun moved to the 12th house? That actually was, well, they say that there are houses that planets go to die. Sun moving into the 12th house is one of those houses where, you know, when the Sun moves to the 12th, it represents death of that planet. Well, my father did die. I was only 31 years old when that happened. Actually, you know, if you go by the Navamsha being triggered by marriage, this actually didn't occur until 10 years after, but I'm sure in one of my dashas, I believe I've looked it up, and I was in my Jupiter dasha, but then I hit a sub dasha of K2, which is release or letting go. And father, of course, was my guru, was a teacher, mentor, and so death of guru, right, or letting go. So Sun did move to the 12th, and in fact I did go through death of father. And then Saturn moved into my second house of income and money. Well, the death of my father hit me so hard that while I did go out and try and take care of my family and start a whole nother business just for that reason, it also led to escapism. So planets in the 12th house can sometimes show escapism, and I did turn to alcohol, and ultimately led to kind of destruction of my reputation in the world. And I mean, even further, if you look at some of the medical astrology involved with this, the Sun represents the right eye, and it is when I started to lose my vision. I mean, so this can go everywhere, go from extremes, from esoteric down to actual physical signs that your planets are moving around and doing their thing. So it's, the more I have studied, the more amazed I am, and the most truth I have found is in Vedic astrology, and it's, I have kind of dedicated every day of my life this last couple of years to some form of study. I watch videos almost daily on some aspect of Vedic astrology, and I'm learning. It'll take a lifetime. This is not an easy science to learn, so I'm sure I'll spend the rest of my life. But I just kind of wanted to share my own story to give you an idea of what this Sun-Saturn conjunction means. And back to Saturn moving into my second house, you know, after I went through alcoholism, rehab, 2 years into sobriety, I got so sick that I was not able to work. And I was eventually diagnosed with 2 different major issues. I had a pancreatic pseudocyst, and I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease. So, long story short, I went through a major surgery. I lost all of my assets. I was forced to kind of start over with my career. I wasn't forced to start over with my career. It was a choice that I made. I chose to go into counseling to try and help people who went through similar issues in life, because I don't see addiction as an ending to life. For some people like myself, it could be a whole new beginning. So that's how I chose to change my path, which, interestingly enough, like I said, when I started college, I wanted to be a psychologist. So kind of just sent me full circle, but I had to trod through the Sun-Saturn thing to get there. And I also went back to art. So I'm a painter now full time. And actually my moon moved from my second house into my third trades. So, and also things you do with your hands, your hobbies, talents, things like that. So my life truly has followed my astrology chart. What else can I say about Sun-Saturn conjunction? I have seen this conjunction in other people's charts. I've seen it in the 11th house, which is not a bad place for Saturn to be. Because Saturn ultimately does reward, but it's a reward system based on the amount of work you put into it. So particularly this 11th house position that I saw this conjunction in, and this is typically your network circles, your friends, organizations, and I told this person, you may have some duty, you may feel this dutiful response to friends whenever you're needed or what have you. And she says, well, it's primarily family. And I said, well, it represents older siblings too. And she said, well, that makes a heck of a lot of sense because I have this duty to family and I'm the youngest child, so all of my siblings are older. So definitely that duty to family was there through the 11th house siblings. What else? Oh, and as I was talking to this person about Sun-Saturn, both of our fathers also suffered with self-esteem problems as children. So not necessarily for she and I, even though I think that was kind of filtered down to us, but primarily instead of she and I having the major self-esteem problems, it was the father that had the self-esteem problems. And almost an overcompensation of ego in that sense. So they were all about how they appeared to the public or how they appeared to family, So it's not necessarily just you. Can be that person as well, whoever Saturn sits with, And what else? I think that's pretty much it. It was just very interesting. So you can kind of see how all of this led to my study of Vedic astrology, because I grew up Christian, and sometimes the answer of blind faith just isn't an answer. And so I spent decades actually studying the Bible and everything associated with it, including the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Apocrypha, the hidden books, lost books, all of it. I mean, I spent decades, trying to cling on with fingernails to my Christian upbringing, and ultimately there were no answers for me. That's not to say that there's not for other people, because I still believe in all the teachings of Christ and how we need to relate to our friends and family. I mean, there's tons of truth there, but I needed to know for myself why am I suffering like this? Why do I carry these heavy burdens? I feel like, I'm carrying the world on my shoulders sometimes. And so this helps me, because I know from this that it's something I was meant to go through. I'm still not quite to that why am I here thing, what is my purpose? But it's helped me to understand that this is something I needed to go through for whatever reason. Karma, call it what you want, but I'm meant to do this, and that just gives me a little bit of extra get up and go every day, even when the burden is quite heavy, so anyway, check out these other people. If you have these kinds of questions, this is definitely a science you need to study and try and understand. It lifts your heart. So take care, everybody. Have a great Sunday. Love you. Bye-bye.